However, have you ever considered doing this?
Yahoo!
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you are familiar with my face, you'll know that I run a free trading game collection. If you're not familiar, that's how I managed to acquire everything that you see behind me absolutely free. Now, before I get into that, in the description down below is the playlist to that series, so you can go through and check it all out to see how I've managed to pick up every game and console that you see behind me and loads more besides. Also in the description, today's sponsor. If you've been wondering how to keep those balls soft and supple, Manscaped will have you covered. Tried and tested by yours truly, so you know that they're absolutely 100% effective. My wife hasn't left me and I'm ugly as sin, so they must be doing something right. They're already at great prices and they do give you some free gifts here or there depending on what you buy. But if you use the code TVM20, that is also linked in the description, you'll get 20% off your order. Now go and check out manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you. So I'm here to tell you that there's no right or wrong way to collect video games. If you're the type of person who has a job and has a disposable income after you've paid your bills, you need to share the secret. What job are you in? Because no one has that these days. However, if you are one of those special few, then it would be easy for you to just go and spend your hard-earned cash on new releases. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing that. But many people don't have that disposable income or can't necessarily justify 60 quid every other day, every other week for a brand new game. I'm one of those people. Couldn't afford to do that even if I wanted to, but I also can't justify going out and buying a brand new game unless it's a discounted game, so it's around 30, 35. So for example, super rare games on the Switch tend to release around 34 to 36. I can cope with that every now and again, but a brand new AAA release on the PS5 will run 60, 70 pounds, even more, depending on what edition that you want. And I can't afford to do that. So if you have a little bit of patience, there are ways that you can get these games cheaper. Now, what I mean by patience is, of course, you may need to wait. It's not always going to be like this, but you may need to wait past the release date. What I would do if I wasn't filming for content is I would probably make a list of the games that I want throughout the year, and then I would put little marks to the ones that I absolutely cannot wait to play. So, for example, Hogwarts is coming out very, very soon, and that is a game that a lot of people have at the very top of their list. If that's the game that you want and you know you need that on launch and you can't possibly wait for it, that's the game that you need to work for. The rest of them will follow. Now, what I mean by that is, what I do in my series is I tend to go to places like Facebook Marketplace and charity shops, you name it, and I will try and make my money that way. So, for example, I'll start with £100. I'll go and buy a console and some games. I'll sell the console on for £100. Therefore, all the games I have left over are free. Now, if I want a newer release or a new release, I could then sell those games, get the cash, and then go and use that cash to buy a new release. It does sound simple, and a lot of people may think, well, no, you can't really do that. It's almost impossible. It can happen. You can go on Facebook Marketplace and find a console bundle, and you'd be surprised what consoles sell for how much. So, for example, a PlayStation 4 console, just the original PlayStation 4 console, still fetches around £130. CEX, however, only trade it in for around 60. So that brings me on to my next topic. Using CEX to trade games into and then buying games from CEX is definitely a way that you can do it, and it's the way that I've amassed the majority of the stuff that you see behind me now. However, that isn't the most efficient way to do it. So why do I do it, and why do I not do it the most efficient way? Well, the answer to that really is convenience, but more than convenience, it's content. I film for YouTube, obviously. That's where you're watching me right now, I would imagine. So when it comes to filming for YouTube, if I was to sit there and use cash to buy video games, and I went on Amazon, I went on eBay and things, it would be quite a boring episode, because you'd see me scrolling through the internet, clicking on the odd thing, And then eventually someone would knock the door, hand me a parcel, and I would show you what I bought. And there's nothing really in that. You know, I could show you, it's almost like a mystery, if you will, like a mystery box. You don't know what's in here. You don't know what I've bought. Here is the game. Whereas that's fine every now and again, but in terms of keeping you, the audience, interested, I kind of need to go out into the wild and try and find things just randomly in shops and in car boot sales and things. It keeps it more interesting and people are engaged a little bit more. But I don't think that that is the most efficient way to do it. I think the most efficient way to collect video games, and like I said, there's no right or wrong way, but this is the way that I would probably do it more often than not if I wasn't filming. I'd still go to places like car boot sales, Facebook Marketplace and the like. And for example, we'll go back to that original example of £100 for the console and the games. What I would do is buy it for £100 and then I would sell it. I'd put it on eBay when I had a discount listing day. So every other Friday on eBay, I don't know whether this is the same for everyone, but it's the same for the people that I know and speak to. They have like a 70% off selling fees, which means that when you sell something, instead of the 14% odd that eBay charge in fees after you've sold an item, they will knock 70% off the 14%. Does that make sense? So you're not paying anywhere near top dollar in terms of fees, so you maximize that as well. You can also list things on Vinted, which you don't pay any fees on there, or you can put it on Facebook Marketplace. But of course, if you just bought it off Facebook Marketplace and put it straight back up on Facebook Marketplace, a lot of people have already seen it, and you do risk the original seller coming at you and saying, hey, what the hell are you doing? Hasn't happened to me, but you never know. But of course, you want to try and maximize your profit here, so I would stick it on eBay or Vinted. I would try and get as much as I possibly could for it. Of course, you need to work this out before you actually pull the trigger and buy the damn thing. But if you've just spent £100 and you can make 130 all in, then you've got £30 profit. Now, what I would tend to do then, and we've already spoke about this, is I would take the games that are left over. Let's just allocate £30 to those games in terms of credit. I would take those into CEX and I would get the voucher and I would buy a game through CEX. But the problem with CEX is, and I'll make a dedicated video about them if you're interested, my true thoughts on CEX, for example. If you want to see that video, hit the like button so I know generally that you want to see it. That would be very much appreciated. But the problem with them really is their prices can be a little bit all over the place. So, for example, their consoles are very inflated. It would cost you around 200 and, I can't even remember what it was, 230, 250, somewhere in that range for a standard Switch. Whereas if I go on Facebook or even if I go on eBay, I can get one far less than that. You don't get the warranty. You don't get the peace of mind that it's been tested. However, it will be a lot cheaper. And if you buy it on eBay, you are protected generally anyway. And if you buy it on Facebook and you go and pick it up from this person's house, you know where they live. So they think it'd be very stupid if they sell you something that doesn't work. Anyway, I don't know what you're thinking. You can't use CEX credit on Vinted, so what the hell are you talking about? Well, instead of taking those games into trade, sell them on eBay, on Vinted, even put them back up on Facebook Marketplace and sell them individually. Work out how much they're worth on the CEX app. So for example, I've just picked up 3 games. They're worth £15 each. They trade in for £10 each. I'm going to list them on eBay or Vinted for around £12.50-ish. I'll get a little bit more, especially if they sell on Vinted. I'll get a little bit more than I can trade them in for. But even if I get the trade value of £10 for each game, I've then got £30 in cash. And of course, you don't have to use that £30 cash profit that you've just made on video games. You can go and buy food with it. You can go and buy anything, trainers, for example, whatever you want to do with it. It's your money. It's not CEX credit that's tied to one particular store. However, when you have cash like this, the best thing that you can do with that cash is then go to somewhere like Vinted. Car boot sales are fantastic, but the weather right now isn't great, so it's not going to be viable for everyone. However, Vinted and eBay and even Facebook Marketplace is absolutely fantastic for picking up cheap games. Vinted in particular, I found recently, is a goldmine for buying games that you want to put into your collection, but you don't want to spend too much. I've seen plenty of Spider-Man Miles Morales on the PlayStation 5 that the CEX will try and charge £20 to £25 for. I forget how much it is exactly. I've seen it on Vinted for about £10, quite comfortably as well. And of course you can send offers on Vinted as well, which means you may be able to get a little bit cheaper. Far Cry 6 on the PlayStation 5 is £18 in CEX right now. You can get that for less than 10 on Vinted, quite comfortably. There are loads of those games listed. So the most efficient way to do it would, I say one of the most efficient ways to do it, not the most, but one of, would be to do that. Get something on Facebook, flip part of it on, get your money back, sell whatever's left over, don't trade it into CEX, and then use that cash to go online or to a boot sale or to a Facebook Marketplace pickup and buy the games that you want that way. Now, the issue with doing that, of course, is that it's a little bit boring. A lot of people like to find things out in the wild. I am one of those people. So if you do go on Facebook Marketplace, you do go on Vinted or eBay to buy your games, it can be a little bit boring. You're not going to get them straight away. And of course, you will need to wait for them to arrive. So yeah, it can be a little bit frustrating in that sense, but you are going to get them the cheapest way possible. However, have you ever considered doing this? So you've just gone to Facebook Marketplace, you've picked up your console and your games for £100, you've listed your console on eBay, and it's sold. It's sold for £120, you take your fees and everything out of it, and you've made a little bit of profit, or you've got your money back, wherever it may be. Those games you have left over now, you've got a decision. Do you sell them? Do you trade them? What do you do? Well, have you ever considered going to CEX, trading those games in, getting £30, and then looking for things that you can flip from CEX? And potentially I will do this in an upcoming video just to prove my point. But the big way to do it, and the easiest way for people who aren't that into looking at prices of every single game, or maybe your knowledge of video games isn't as good as you'd like it to be, steelbooks are a very, very easy way of being able to make money off CEX. So you've just taken your games in, you've got £30 credit. You could buy Metroid on the Switch for £28 if you want. Use your credit, put that into your collection, or you can try and make that £30 work for you. So have a little look around for steelbooks. PlayStation 4 and Xbox One in particular. There are quite a few of PS5 steelbooks now as well that you can pick up in CEX that are the same price as the base game. As an example, this is Resident Evil Village, which I picked up for around £22, and it is the Steelbook edition with the slipcover. Got this in CEX, got it with credit, didn't cost me anything. Of course, the entire collection is free at this point, but that is a collectible. People go out specifically to look for steelbooks, and they will pay more online for a very good condition steelbook. This is good condition. This game is another example. Darkness 2 cost me about £4, something in that region. It's not a steelbook, however, it does have a holographic, I guess, slipcover, which is a little bit different, and I looked at it and I thought to myself, that probably sells for a little bit more than just the bog standard game. I was right. You can actually get around 15, or at least you could at the time of when I picked this up. And again, things may have changed since then. It's been a long time since I've picked this up. My point is, if you've got £30 and you've just picked up Resident Evil Village and Darkness 2, Steelbook and slipcover, it's cost you less than £30 of your credit. You're still going to have a couple of pounds left over that you can go and look for something similar to this. I think Time Shift on the 360 has a slipcover as well. Vanquish had a slipcover. There's a few other ones in there as well. You could have flipped this on, £10-15 somewhere in that region, and you could have sold Resident Evil Village for around 30-35 being the steelbook, and then you could have made even more money on top of that. You'd then be walking around with about £45 in cash ish, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, but if you're willing to put the time in, you've got the patience to do that, you can turn that £30 trade profit, I might add, into £45, and then you can either start the cycle all over again, take that £45, go to Facebook Marketplace, look for something else that you can just rinse and repeat the process with, or you can go and buy a game with that £45. I know I'm sat here and I'm making it sound very, very easy, and it can be that easy, but most of the time you will run into some sort of speed bump, if you will. You may not be able to find anything on Facebook Marketplace, the boot sales may not be on, charity shops may be dead, and that is the problem with doing this. It's not something that you can just go and do every single day of the week. because if you could, I'm sure everyone would be doing it. It does take time. It does require patience, because you will have to sit there refreshing Facebook for hours, possibly days, in order to get that deal that suits you and the deal that stands out to you and that makes sense. I've got a deal coming up that is absolutely incredible. It's so undervalued, it is outrageous. It's probably worth about 3 or 4 times the amount that I've paid for it. That is going to be in an upcoming episode. But, like I said, you have to be quick, and you have to just sit there refreshing sometimes. I could be sat here making this video now, and I could have just missed 3 or 4 deals. It's just the way that it works. But there are far more ways to collect video games than just going out and buying new releases, or doing the CEX trade method. So let me know in the comments how you collect video games. If you don't want to share your secrets, that's fine. But you may be angry at me sharing the Steelbook secret, but I've mentioned it plenty of times on this channel before anyway. But CEX don't, for some reason, price up their Steelbooks or their slipcovers. I don't really know why. They could probably make a little bit more money doing that, but they don't do it. They've never done it, and they've done it for years. So happy days. We can get some nice little collectibles at the same price. Let me know if you've managed to find anything decent in a CEX that you consider to be undervalued. And of course, feel free to share your methods in the comments. I will be reading them and maybe trying to implement them myself if I think that they're good and they're a good fit for the channel. But if you have enjoyed this type of video and you want to see more of this sort of thing, maybe my true thoughts on CEX, like I said, games that I think are undervalued on certain consoles in CEX, let me know. And of course, if you have enjoyed it, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and until the next time, goodbye.